we've got to play that moment of Tim Walz on the lie that he was in Tiananmen Square. He said that he was in Tiananmen Square, that he was in Hong Kong, which, obviously is not Beijing, but that he was in Hong Kong when Tiananmen Square happened. And it was a lie. And he's gotten caught on it. It just came out today. And so you had to know this was going to come up. I mean, maybe they're just so used to being babied by the leftist media that they didn't think it would come up. But here's what Rich was referring to.
Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn. Now, look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's always been about that. Boy. Those same people elected me to Congress for 12 years. And in Congress, I was one of the most bipartisan people.
Oh, gosh, wait, because there's more. Then it went on. There was a follow-up because he didn't answer the question, right? I'm a knucklehead? You lied. At the last debate, it was, I have bad grammar. The last interview, right? I have bad grammar. He told Dana Bash to excuse some of his lies. Now it's, I'm a knucklehead. What does that mean? You lied. Here's the follow-up.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Thank you, Governor.
Eliana, you're laughing.
It looks like Saturday Night Live. It looks like a Saturday Night Live skit. Sounds like a Saturday Night Live skit. I really actually was astonished by that because, look, Minnesota Public Radio had this little anecdote buried in a story yesterday. The Beacon went and pulled the tape and the photographs out. CNN pulled more anecdotes of Walz talking about how he remembered Voice of America not broadcasting and this and that, his elaborate tall tales that he'd. And the New York Times did a story today. So he had to know that this was going to be asked about, given that CNN and the New York Times were reporting about this today. Is that the answer they prepared? Is it? Because he could have just said, I said I arrived in June. I actually arrived in August. I misspoke, and I apologize for that. Mm-hmm. Instead, we got
But he couldn't because it continues his stolen valor theme. Like he elevates everything to make himself sound a little bit better than he actually is. Like the weapons that I carried in war, and he's never fought in war. Like I'm a retired command sergeant major, and he's not. Like I served in Operation Enduring Freedom, which he didn't. He never went to Afghanistan. Like we didn't just do intrauterine injections when we tried to get pregnant. We did the full IVF. So I've got standing to speak on IVF, which they didn't. Over and over and over again. Like the Chamber of Commerce gave me a special commendation, which they didn't. Over and over, he lies to make himself sound a little bit better, a little bit more relevant, a little bit more important than he actually is. And he keeps getting caught. And what we saw tonight here, Rich, was him disassembling because he didn't expect this question to come up. And to be honest, I didn't expect them to raise this either. I didn't think CBS would do it.
Well, as Eliana lays it out, this is a case where some other media outlets have been doing their job as well, which is good to see. And the question was asked, and it was kind of, in a way, it was an arrogant question, or certainly a question that tried to evade, because the obvious answer is what Eliana laid out. You just say, I messed it up. I flubbed, June is warm, so is August. I messed them up, and, your memory plays tricks on you, and I'm very sorry. That's all he had to do.
I mean, if I may say, though, that's like being like, I was in Lower Manhattan on 9/11. Oh, wait, I was actually there on 9/13. That is a very different experience. Like, the reason he was caught is because it wasn't an innocent mistake. If you are in Beijing on the day of the Tiananmen Square massacre, where hundreds were killed and shot, like, you know if you were there. You don't, I was confused. You came after. Like, that's why he couldn't do it, Rich. I see your point on strategy.
Okay.
I'm not saying the answer would be... I'm not saying the answer would be honest.
There's good cleanup and there's bad cleanup. Like, we'd know if he handled it well or if he handled it poorly. It would still be like all of his lies are these, they're puffery that all accrues to his political benefit and places him at the center of events and allows him to better connect with people on political issues. But there's better and worse ways to try to clean up your doo-doo, and that was definitely a worse way.
Yeah.
And also, if you're going to give a shameless
coach, that's
answer,
another one.
Yeah, if you're going to give a shameless answer, you have to be shameless about it. You can't feel guilty about it. And at that end, when he was stumbling around, it's clearly because he didn't feel confident in what he was saying, because he himself knew it was BS.
I know. Honestly, like, if anything, maybe you pull a Newt Gingrich, I can't believe you would raise such a petty issue in a presidential debate. There are people suffering out there. You haven't raised what happened in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene.
This was 40 years ago.
You want to relitigate a difference between June and August 40 years? This is ridiculous. Yeah. Like, do that. Do something other than, holy shit.
I'm a knucklehead.
Question. I was told there'd be none of those. What did you think overall of the moderators? Because my biggest pet peeve with them was that how they kept stealing the last word, and how their little follow-ups to J.D. Vance, which were very pointed, or the even more annoying ones were to Tim Walz, like, will you comment specifically on the following two things that J.D. Vance just said, which I'm telling you right now are fake, Tim Walz, they're fake. Please fact check him.
Yeah, you could hear it in the tone of their voice. And they're just playing by Sunday show rules. And now a Sunday show, the way it works, a Republican is on. They usually have an elected Republican and elected Democrat on separately. The elected Republican comes on, and every other answer is fact-checked, and the host gives his or her opinion to counter it. And it never happens with a Democrat. And it's exactly what they did in this debate. It wasn't as blatant as ABC, but they did at least two fact checks when they said they wouldn't. And the questions to JD had a kind of skeptical tone. And the questions, at least some of them, to Walz were, please, can you correct this guy? He's so crazy, JD Vance. We need you to help us out here. Do us an assist. Give us an assist, because we can't do it ourselves directly. So it's so bad. And as you say, Margaret Brennan, all these people, they marinate in the same world. They socialize with these Democratic operatives. They kind of share the worldview, and it just shows.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.